Cool. We're going to get straight into it. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to get into our album review bag. And we're going to review an album from an artist in the UK. He goes by the name of Avelino, and he released his debut album quite recently, actually. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, called God Save the Streets. Now, if you don't know who Avelino is, he is a young MC from the land known as Tottenham.
Where?
Tottenham. Tottenham, North London, where Mo resides. He's been in the game for a while, coming up to a decade now. Most people might have heard him the first time collaborating with the legend, the veteran.
The greatest.
See? He did say he's the greatest. Wretch 3-2.
The greatest.
They did a collaborative mixtape called Young Fire, Old Flame. Avelino representing the Young Fire. Wretch with his congregational raps representing the Old Flame.
Why you gotta say congregation?
The fuck is wrong
What's
with
your
you?
problem?
The fuck is wrong with you?
What's your problem?
The fuck is wrong with you? That was for me and Drake's. But shout out to Wretch, innit? But yeah.
I was expecting Drake's to start snapping his fingers.
Tabernacle. Anyway.
And also the Fire in the Booth is where I think a lot of people saw him for the first time.
Yes, the Fire in the Booth as well, that him and Wretch did. Shout out to that Fire in the Booth. Very much a legendary one. A lot of people consider that like the greatest one, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people's top
Which
5.
one?
The one of him, Wretch and Avelino.
The greatest?
No, it's in everyone's top 5, I'll say.
Oh, is it?
It's,
No,
it's,
some people call it the greatest.
it's in, I mean,
Well,
to
Wretch
me-
is part of it anyway.
To me,
Yeah.
Wretch has got the best ever Fire in the Booth, but it's not that one.
Okay.
Well, some people consider that one
Yeah.
for his part.
Yeah, no. Wretch lost his mind.
Mm.
Wretch lost his mind. And then Charlie Sloth had to, and he reloaded it again.
He did.
Yeah, but yeah, that Fire in the Booth, one of the greatest ever. You can see Avelino just lost as well. Like Avelino was lost.
A young Avelino just peeping game
Yeah,
from,
like you see his
from
face
the
reaction
legend.
when Wretch is rapping. Wretch is the greatest, man. Sorry, but we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, I mean, Wretch has kind of been a creative muse for Avelino and vice versa since then. Very much involved in the process. But since then, Avelino has dropped a few solo projects. He dropped FYO, he dropped Ego Kills, and he dropped No Bullshit as well. And now he's released his debut album, God Save the Streets, long awaited. It is a 11-tracker, I believe, 11, 12 tracker. And it features the likes of Ghetts, Backroad Gee, Wretch 3-2, RA, Tiggs the Author, Raf Riley, Progression. This album is actually executive produced by Wretch as well. And it also features production by Raf Riley, Fraser T. Smith, Too Faded, GX, DJ RLO, Bams, Rayo, Payday, Hall, Gokes, Carl Evans, EY, and Bird. I wanted to give everybody a shout out. This album is very much influenced by Avelino's own life story of basically coming from the gutter, and being on the roads, being in the streets, you know what I mean, being in the drug game, as it were, and essentially,
Trenches.
being in the trenches, and essentially deciding that he's worth more than this, and essentially having that self-realization that he wants better for himself and he wants better for his life and better for his people. And this album is very much the soundtrack to that. Him revisiting his past in order to kind of define what his present is like. So yeah, it's been out for a few weeks now. In a landscape in the UK where, you know, the album hasn't been as prominent this year, he very much came through with his contribution to it. And yeah, we're here to review it today. So boys, I mean, we're going to leave the Tottenham representative for last.
React.
Peter,
Let me hear
React.
Go on,
react
Pete.
to Avelino's God Save the Streets.
Avelino,
How many hears
bro.
blasphemy? Sorry.
Huh?
9. I just said if I hear blasphemy.
What do you mean?
Just saying it.
I thought it was a really good album. I really enjoyed it, man. Avelino is like someone that I've always thought was like lyrically very good. He's not someone that I've consistently listened to over the years, but he's definitely someone that, you know, when I did like become like introduced to him via Wretch, I was curious just because I was like, oh, okay, he's different. Do you know what I mean? And then over the years, like here and there, I've like, you know, listened to tunes here and there. Like he's got a song with Dave called Cassius Clay, which I absolutely loved. And I think he dropped another song a couple of years ago called Higher Power, which like, I thought was really dope. But outside of that, I didn't really have any expectations for this album, to be quite honest with you. I was going to check it out just because, you know, I try and keep my my finger on the pulse in the UK and that. You know them ones?
He said that with a straight face as well.
I didn't want to interrupt his life, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
but no, man.
Finger of the false.
See, I didn't have any expectations like listening to or preparing to listen to this Avelino album, man. So I was pleasantly surprised. Do you know what I mean? I was really happy with what I heard. I feel like he's telling a story that many others have probably told before, or in his own way. Like, he's speaking from the perspective of someone that has attempted to maneuver the streets, surviving it, talking about the ills of the streets and like where it could go wrong versus where it can go right as well. And yeah, I just really enjoyed like how he put this album together. I thought it was very well put together, man. I really thought like sonically it meshed very well, like track into track into track. The themes were very consistent and coherent, which I thought was really good. And I think that's important for any album being made. And yeah, just generally, I thought it was like a really good album. I think lyrically he performed at a really good level. And yeah, I think just going like through the tracks and that, I think before I pressed play, I was looking at the track list and then I do that from time to time just to see what I think things may sound like. And I didn't expect it. Like from, the first track, God Save the Streets Part 1, I didn't expect to hear what I heard there. And I was like, oh, yeah. This is one of them ones as far as an intro. And then he went into God Save the Streets Part 2, which I also enjoyed, and that's featuring R.A., which I'm not that familiar with. And that was like a sort of switch up in tempos, but I still thought it was quite cool as well. And then track 3's like Twin Flame, where he sampled Kano's Brown Eyes, which I thought was cool as well. And typically, when it's a song that like I've grown up listening to, I'm a bit precious about artists like sampling it, but I thought it was a nice spin on that. And then Vicious Cycle with Wretch, I thought it was like, that's one of my favourite songs on there. I thought it was really dope, man. Like the spoken word piece from Wretch was, that was amazing.
Spoken word, all right.
What's your problem?
So he even did it, and this is go.
But no, I thought it was dope, man. Like, I loved the message of that, man. I felt like he really got into his bag as far as detailing the vicious cycle of this myth that we call the streets, man. And I thought it was dope. And I thought having Wretch on that was just like a beautiful touch, man. And then the next tune was Vex with Backroad Gee and Ghetts, which I didn't actually like.
For real?
I didn't really like it, man. I thought, I knew that, okay, I understood its placement on the album. Like, I was like, okay, cool, that's the energy record, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I felt like that was probably in place just to show the range of what he could do, because he probably didn't want the album sounding like mad samey in it. So, I understood its placement, but I didn't really like that. And then you've got 101 featuring Raph Riley, which I thought was cool. And then you've got So What, which I thought was also really good. And then you've got Sin City with Wretch, which I thought was cool. That was like a nice jiggy tune. Like that's some flyboy shit. Do you know what I mean? And I enjoyed that, man. I thought that was dope as well. Through My Eyes might be my favourite song on there. I thought that was really dope. And I think that actually sampled the Sex Pistols, if I'm not mistaken. So that was dope. Brotherhood was dope as well, as was Acceptance, man. So yeah, generally, I really enjoyed this album. I thought it was really well put together.
Was there anything that, you weren't necessarily feeling that was kind of hampering your listening experience?
Not really, man. I think like thematically, it sounded really good. I knew what he was doing. And I feel like he provided a great backdrop to do that. And it made, I guess, receiving what he was saying like more entertaining than it could have been, because it's not new messages, it's just not new themes. Like a lot of the rappers that we listen to are from the streets, they're from the hood, you know what I mean? And they've had to maneuver through that one way or another. So it's not new, but it's how you do it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like he did it in a very like skillful way. And the detail, there's detail that can kind of take you like up beyond the average street rapper. And I think that's what he did here.
I hear that. 100%, man. I mean, I will echo all your sentiments. I really enjoyed this album as well. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing him about it and basically doing like a track-by-track breakdown of the album. And one of the things that he said that quite regularly throughout the interview was like this whole idea of like changing your mind, meaning that you'll change your life. And I think this album's the kind of living embodiment of that. Like you say, incredibly put together for me. Sequencing, cohesiveness, the songs very much sonically, like they demonstrate the feeling of the actual themes at hand.
Absolutely.
Something like Vicious Cycle,
Yeah.
which is like one of my favorite tunes, you can kind of hear the desperation and you can hear the perilousness of the situation. Yeah.
Literally,
you're
Vicious
podding.
Cycle.
No, he's
literally.
podding. He's podding right now.
Yeah. You can hear the desperation in it, and it's almost kind of like depressing. And it's like, yo, I see another youth grinding this, that, and the other, and it's like you could literally do this song for ages and ages and ages, and you would literally not run out of material, sort of thing. Twin Flame, the whole idea of him kind of being this kind of roadman, tough exterior, opening up for the person that, you know, deserves it the most and making them see life in a different way. One of One, the kind of refrain from Ref Riley, that kind of euphoria when it comes, when it kind of represents that realization that he is the guy that he thinks he is. He is one of one, like, and he's actually realizing that, and he can now take that and move on with his life, sort of thing. Sin City, taking a ride around the ends with his friends, sort of thing. So what? Like, never had shit. So what? Like, that's not going to stop me from being what I want to be, sort of thing. So yeah, Detail was
or you could flip that, and like that's the sort of mentality that a lot of roadmen have. Do you know what I mean? They've never had shit. So what? That's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do to get to where I need to get to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it speaks to the mentality that it takes to even like begin on the path of becoming a roadman as well. So that's how I flipped it as well, and that's how I saw it as well.
Facts. Yeah, I mean, and that's a good thing about this. It's very much open in a lot of ways to interpretation. Like, it could be a thing where you could be Avelino's story. You could be the roadman who then turns good. Or in the case of like a RA who's very much in that life and seems very happy with it, proud of it, sort of thing, you could do that as well. So there's so many things that you could take from this. But generally, really loved it. I think Avelino rapping at a high level as well, in a way that I think supersedes all of the projects before that I'd heard from him. Everything was just right, man. Everything was just right. You were right about the Sex Pistols. It does sample the Sex Pistols. The actual album cover itself is influenced by the Sex Pistols as well, the kind of title as well. So yeah, he was taking in a lot of different influences. There's like hints of like techno a little bit in Vex, and you know, he's doing drill, he's doing a bit of the UK rap sort of thing. So you're very much getting like, I mean, it's only like what, 36 minutes, but you're getting so much out of it. You know what I mean? The guest features were great. You know, Ghetts this thing, Backroad Gee just brought the energy. Tiggs the author, he's slowly becoming a national treasure.
Having the gangster Marvin Herbert to kind of narrate throughout, I thought that was a dope way to kind of tie in the authenticity of the streets as well. I thought that was really good. I don't think I've had that before from a UK artist. Like a real gangster from the UK kind of narrating their story and weaving it into an album. I don't know if we've had that.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, so that was I thought that was a great touch.
Yeah, I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but yeah, I can't think of one either. Yeah, 100%. Great touch. The production, yeah, man, really good. I mean, there's not a song on here that maybe like, I mean, I liked Tiggs on Brotherhood, but the actual song itself is probably the one that I would skip out of all of them if I had to pick one.
Oh, really?
But really and truly, that's nitpicking, because I think all of the songs are great. Like, it ends really well with Acceptance, sort of thing. Yeah, it kind of feels like a realization of self on record, sort of thing. And you know, I really much appreciate that. My favorite song is also Through My Eyes. The bounce, the pockets he was in. Along with Vicious Cycle as well. I think that was great. You know, as much as it was congregational raps, Wretch was spitting. You know what I mean? What did he say? We don't choose where we live, but we choose to be rivals, sort of thing.
I saw the view of the cycle from the view of my cycle. We never chose where we live, but we choose to be rivals. Don't ask me where I got it written down. He's the fucking GOAT. Sorry, continue.
Thank you.
How can your mum pay for rent how can your mum pay attention when she can't pay for the renting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was shit like that, man.
Don't do Michael.
Insides of his inside, outside.
He's the GOAT, but you man can continue.
He's not the GOAT, but I feel you. But yeah, great work. And props to Wretch as well for the EP in as well. He clearly, him and Avelino just like fit like that. So, you know, it's always great to see them work together at such a high level as well. So
he's speaking to a lot on this album, man. He's speaking to a lot.
And it doesn't come across as preachy either.
At all, man. Like, he had a bar, I think on God Save the Streets Part 1, where he was like, N-words don't even know that they're God in the flesh. And I thought that was so powerful, man, because it it speaks to how a lot of black youths don't really understand their worth, man. And, you know, obviously the streets are the streets, man. It's easy to kind of go down a certain path. But, man, if you get to a point where you realise who you really are, man, it could do a lot, man.
And that's why One of One feels so triumphant.
Yeah.
Because when you get to that point, it's like, rah, everything is just clicked. And I'm just on another level now.
Absolutely.
Like, in and of myself, morally, all that stuff. So I think, again, it comes across really well that that's the kind of sensation that you get. So, yeah, man, I can't fault this album, man. For me, it's my favourite UK rap album of the year so far. I think it's going to take a bit to beat it.
Yeah.
And that's just okay. Because another thing about this, it's got a lot of replay value as well.
Absolutely,
like,
bruv.
Literally, like, I've probably listened to this album like 8 or 9 times now. And I'm finding new things. Like, yeah, man, it all came together for Avelino as well. And one thing he did tell me as well is that this is the first album or the first project that he recorded sober. So I think that comes with its own like sense of, you know, clarification and, you know, a higher plane of like mental, you know, capacity and motivation for what you're doing sort of thing. So it all comes across on this album. So
and I wonder what that experience would have been like for him as well, man. Not having the crux of something that can intoxicate you and dull some of your senses and that. And I imagine that it probably makes it easier to like dig into certain parts of your personality and your soul.
Definitely. I can actually tell you. So he says, basically I did it for Apple Music.
Okay.
And we did a breakdown of it. Thank you. We did a breakdown of the track, and this is for Acceptance. He said, this is the second song I ever made sober. A significant factor to this album is that I broke my dependency on alcohol while creating it. My whole career up to now was very rock and roll, but it started becoming a real battle for me. After recording without alcohol the first and second time, suddenly I made all these songs completely free of the demon that was holding me back. So clearly, a big step for him.
Yeah.
And, you know, got to salute him for that as well. Taking charge of his life and his future. And yeah, can't fault it, man. Great album. Great album.
Now over to the Tottenham resident.
The Tottenham correspondent. The Tottenham Almanac.
I don't think I've been silent for that long since we've started this podcast. I don't know if you realise, but I let you man talk. I let you interject. I let you lot had the conversation. You lot had I don't know if you did it. Did you deep it, Pete? I was silent throughout the whole thing.
Not the whole thing, but cool.
Besides a lot of it. I let you man
do your thing, man.
Go on, do your thing,
No. Please don't disrupt me, guys. Now. This was the best album of the UK this year, cleanly. It's one of the best albums that's dropped this year, cleanly. This album gave me everything I wanted. Like, I didn't know Avelino was... I knew Avelino was a lyricist. Like, I always knew Avelino had bars. I didn't know Avelino was capable of this. This was an amazing is not short of a word to me. This was an amazing body of work. And it's going to receive repetitive from what you guys said, but everything was cohesive. Everything fit like a glove. The production was amazing.
Like a glove.
Please. Now, shout out to Gary Payton. Now, everything just fit. Like, everything was... Let me get my notes up, bro. I really want to talk. I can't lie to you, man.
Let me get my notes out.
Now, the first song, I heard Avelino go, went from boys to men. What did he go? Went from boys to men. The end of the road out here. Or something like that. He says something about boys to men and then the end of the road. So he already started off. I was like, okay, you're giving me bars, but what else can you give me? Can you give me a story? Can you give me layers? Do you know what? The whole album, the whole album gave me what it was essentially his story of Tottenham whilst trying to get out of the hood, but it was not in a preachy way. And that's such a fine line that's a fine margin. Yeah. Because it can sound preachy in a heartbeat, because you could be like, well, I made it out here, you guys can too if you don't do this, if you take the path that I took, or that's what you have to do. And that's preachy because it's not as easy as that. And I didn't know Avelino was gang like that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know Avelino was, like, I know he's from Tottenham, but like not everyone from Tottenham is like that, if you get what I mean. Like, everyone's from the hood, but not everyone's. So when I'm hearing his story for the first time, and I've heard these bars before, but I've never really listened to Avelino projects. Now, when I was just listening to it, I was like, no, he really lived a crazy life. Like, he lived a crazy, crazy life. The production surprised me the most out of everything, because I knew the bars was going to be there. The production is what I was looking at. When I saw, I say the shade on Wretch, Wretch is my goal. But when I saw Wretch was an EP in it, I was also like, I don't know, like, is it going to be Wretch's ideas? Is it going to be Avelino's ideas? Because Young Fire, Old Flame wasn't it to me. I just felt like it was just too much going on. Do you know what I mean? You don't know who's leading it and who's following. So it would have been easy for Wretch to be overbearing and just be like, nah, choose this beat instead of this beat, instead of following Avelino's path. So I was very skeptical when I saw. So when I heard Wretch's verse, I was like, yep, done. He's the greatest of all time. Now, just going song by song, Streets Part 1 is the best song on the album to me. But I think it's because of the way, when you start an album like that, you've got me hooked. Like I'm just ready for I'm ready to listen to it, everyone. I disagree with you with the Backroad Gee song.
Okay.
Because when I heard Fling It, I was like, yo, bruv. I was like, I'm not ready. By the way, sidetrack. Backroad Gee has surprised me in life.
He's wavy,
Yeah,
man.
like I thought when my family came out, I was a little bit worried for Backroad Gee because I was like, is Pastor you going to be the guy and then people will forget about you? But I'm happy he's continuing the guy. That's one of my favorite songs of the album as also. Me and you disagree. The one song that didn't really have me was Twin Flame because I felt like it was overbearing sometimes, the production. But
because of the sample.
Yeah. But overall, this album...
And he doesn't like love songs.
Pardon?
Oh, see, I was going to say that.
Right,
but,
cool.
you know.
Well, I didn't like it. Anyway, no, I didn't like it, but it was just out of the songs. But it's also, if the weakest song is a 7, your album's not weak, respectfully. Now, when I talk about Tottenham,
Oh, God.
I need people to understand the layers there is to Tottenham when it comes to this UK music shit. Like, it's not by accident, bro. Wretch has become...
For the record, Drake has rolled his eyes.
Cool. Wretch has become an elder statesman. He's given the baton to Avelino. To ask what Avelino fuck around and done.
What's he done?
Dropped the best album this year in the UK, clean without thinking twice. Nobody is touching this album. Remember, I said nobody in the UK is, unless J Huss drops, nobody in the UK. Like, nobody is going to drop a project like this. And J Huss ain't going to, it's a different kind of project with J Huss.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different kind of project. Nobody that's a lyricist is giving me this kind of album. I don't care what anyone says. You could bring out everyone from the woodworks, from Dave to anyone. Nobody's giving me this. And when I say this, I mean 11 songs and 11 of the 11 fit seamlessly. Like, we can't underplay what... unless I'm overreacting, I don't want to underplay what this album is. Like, it's a phenomenal body of work, bro. Like, everything was nice with it. I think... What was the ending of it again? Acceptance. I think Acceptance was a perfect ending for the album. I think it was a perfect way to close the chapter. Money Power... he had one bar when he goes... No, that's what he had a bar when he goes... 3 white, 1 brown, that's a little mix. All these youngers got enough sweets on them. It's a pick and mix. Like, what are we doing here?
I thought you'd like that one.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, nah, it was too much. The Sin City with Wretch.
3 white girls, 1 brown. I knew you'd like that, man.
I'm never going through this. Sin City. Oh, you got me off my track. Sin City with Wretch, phenomenal.
Inside joke, people, inside joke.
Vicious Cycle is like you said, it can mean anything. Ain't it evil to live backwards? Like it can mean so much stuff. Like it really is. Like his story from where he is to where he ended up, and he didn't hide anything. Like it's also giving up that much of yourself can be daunting for anyone. It's not an easy thing to do. Like it's everybody could talk hood. Everybody could talk. I've done this. But to talk about the effects of what you're going through as well, like when you're doing this and the mental side of it, and also what it can take from you and what it can leave with you, like the PTSD that you go leaving with, even if you've come out the other side. The PTSD, and I think me and you were having a conversation about this last week. I believe we was when I was having a conversation about just real life. And it's also the PTSD that it leaves with you. It's ridiculous. So like, the braveness that he showed was second to none for me.
I'll be very surprised if he hasn't been for therapy.
Yeah.
I think with as deep as he's dug, I think it's hard to not go there without some sort of therapy, man.
He definitely has, and he lost his dad at a young age as well. So there's that as well.
Yeah.
That element.
The different pockets he was finding in some of the tracks, like it wasn't the same flow every song.
Yeah,
like the beats production was like when you name and you've never wrote out every single producer on the album ever. But I understand why you done it on this one.
I did it for coaching.
Did you?
Yeah.
I fair dues, but you rarely do it. My point being, but like, nah, to me this was. And I don't want to be a prisoner in the moment, so I want to behave with what I say.
No, time has passed. Enough time has passed.
But
I feel like.
I don't know. This is one of the most thoroughly enjoyable UK. Is this his debut album?
Yeah.
Bar Huss. I haven't enjoyed a debut album like this in my life.
Okay.
From 2012 onwards.
UK.
Not including Kano, not including them and there.
Koji.
I enjoyed this one more. Just on a personal level. But it's also, do you know what I'm saying? It's the difference. I just enjoyed Avelino's one more. I think as a debut album, to me, bar Huss, I haven't seen a better one. Like, just with my ears. Like, I've gone back to this consistently. I've gone back to each song consistently. The only one I really skip is Twin Flame. Like, normally, if you get
when you fall in love, you'll listen to that and feel different.
Cool, man. Ain't it evil to live? My point being, that normally with albums, you'll pick 4 or 5 songs, add them to your playlist, keep it pushing. Like, I actively go back, like, God Save the Queen, God Save the Part 1 and Part 2. 2 different songs, but 2 phenomenal songs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Let me ask you both something though. Obviously, he's taken this approach to I wouldn't even say condemn the streets, but I guess poke holes in like the lifestyle that you can become entrapped in if you decide to go down that road and that. So for the next project, where do you see him taking it? Because do you think it's difficult for him to then go back to talking about that stuff?
It might just be...
I guess he's an artist, so he can always express that because that's what he's from, innit? But it leaves me curious as to where he goes next.
It might be his evolution as a man. Because, not saying Kendrick, but Kendrick went from Good Kid, Mad City talking about a lot of...
No, but Kendrick was never really...
He was never a road man, but a lot of him was about Compton. And about everything.
And he does go back to it. It's a well that he can always go back to.
Yeah, it's a world he can always go back to, but I think with him, as he grows, his music will grow. So like, if he starts a family, he might talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think with him, it's going to be consistently, he talks about his life. But I think he'll always crawl back to it. But is he going to give a whole album dedicated to it again? I don't think he can.
He could.
He could, don't get me wrong. But it's also,
I don't think he will.
I don't think he would. Because why would, this is the benchmark.
He'll find new inspiration. And I feel like he's one of those artists where they kind of have to live life and then that will reflect in the art. Some artists, maybe the more mainstream ones, don't necessarily have to do that because they're rapping about the same thing. But for someone like him who pays a lot of attention to his craft, who wants to be influenced by so many different things going on in his life, he'll find more muses. He'll find more inspiration to find something new. And I think he will go back to the well of the streets because obviously he's from there and he'll be speaking from a perspective of like real experience. So I think it'll be a mixture, but I definitely feel like it'll be a completely different approach.
Can I also say thank you to Avelino? And sincerely thank you, Avelino. Because when I tell people the best rappers come from Tottenham, they don't listen to me.
This is why you love it so much.
And when people, I remember the one argument one idiot used to always have was, but you lot don't have a good UK album. Shut up forever.
Who said that?
He who should not be named.
Who said
However, he's sitting right there.
For the record, he's pointing at Daniel.
Drake's has always said, Drake's comeback was always, but you don't have a UK album. You don't have a UK album. Even though we did.
No, that's a flawed argument though, man.
No, but let's look, but that was always, even though we do, with Kanisha, if you want to add that, but even though there's been albums, you can't deny this. I don't care who you are.
But you couldn't deny retrospective.
What do you say?
You couldn't deny retrospective.
I don't think you can, but I understand if people do. Like, do you know what I mean? But once you give me in at the ghetto, but like, my point being, this again further proves my point. Nobody is rapping like this consistently on a consistent basis like they do in N17.
This guy used consistently in two different ways. Consistently on a consistent basis.
This guy's been...
That's how you know he's serious, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like, do you get what I'm saying? Like,
he's been podded since he started.
Like, no one does this. This isn't an accident. We don't throw these men willy-nilly. Not respectfully. You have one goal that's giving a baton to another guy who's dropped the best album the UK's heard this year, clean, without thinking. Like, what are we doing here? This is just one postcode. Respect the game. Tottenham produce, put this on TikTok. Tottenham produce the best rappers in London. And it's not close. Don't give me, and when I say Tottenham, I'm not talking about North London. Keep it consistent. One postcode, N15, N17, that's two postcodes. N17, N15, but it's Tottenham. Nobody's making better rappers than us, man. Respectfully, nobody in the UK has done it for 15 years like we are.
You finished?
No. Again. Avelino, salute to you. You absolute champion, bro. And we've got another one. Another one. See the way I said we? I championed Tottenham.
No, it was a dope project, man.
Sorry, man, I got passionate. I apologize.
It definitely was.
No, listen,
I apologize.
I appreciate it. I think the fact that you feel so vindicated about Tottenham is very cute. I'll say that much.
No, stop using the word cute and vindication. I'm not vindicated.
I mean, you are vindicated.
Yeah, you know what? I am vindicated.
And it was cute.
No. I am vindicated, don't get me wrong. But I also look at everyone now like, look at you. You guys denied me.
I don't think... I never
You didn't deny you. Someone did. Someone denied me.
It was never about like the postcode thing though. You've moved the goalposts as you always do, bro. The argument was always what part of London have the best MCs. And so when I say what part of London, I'm referring to East, West, North, or South.
I can't control what comes out of Edmonton. I can't control what comes out of Islington. I can't control what comes out of Frisbee Park.
Why is he not listening to me?
All I can control is what comes out.
Why is he not listening to me?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
What's that got to do with what I just said?
No, because respect. All right, cool. Everyone has the debate of who makes the best rappers. However, we are Rhymes Like Dimes. We make our own debates.
Okay.
So when I argue what area, I'm saying keep it to a postcode.
That's because most rappers come from Tottenham.
No, just the good ones do.
No, most.
No, would you say most?
Yeah.
Therefore, we win.
No, I mean by ratio. Shit,
I'm
you're
saying,
gonna win.
I'm saying if you give it to one postcode and you give me your starting 5, it's long.
Whatever, man.
Favorite tracks, boys?
Let's get into it.
Give me
Every single one, but
Vicious
different.
Cycle. Give me God Save the Streets Part 1. Give me Sin City. Give me Through My Eyes. Acceptance as well.
Give me God Save the Streets Part 1. Give me Vicious Cycle. Give me... I'm just having a look here. Vex. Sorry, bro. Fling. Sorry.
Ling it.
Bro, do you know how wavy that is?
Bro, he's
What?
he's
But I'm not an
wavy.
energy brother like that.
I
So,
said,
do you know
bro,
what I mean?
leg it. I was like, nah, this is different. Straight away, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, Backroad Gee, I give me Acceptance because Acceptance is absolutely phenomenal to me.
I got God Save Streets Part 1, Vicious Cycle, Vex, Sin City, and Through My Eyes. But to be honest, all of them are.
It's
dope.
all of them.
So
It's all of them.
Yeah.
Nah, and I can't lie. When you say every single song in the albums,
even the ones I wasn't so hot on.
Did I say
like,
Through
to
My Eyes
begin-
as well?
I think so.
Yeah, good.
so does all the song bangs to you? All the song are good to you?
Yeah, man. They've all got like redeeming qualities. Apart from Vex, I can.
I'll link you.
I'll leave that.
I'll link you 5 years to talk about this album.
5 years? Oh, gosh. All right, cool.
I'll link you 5 years to talk about.
No, cool.
We should do an episode where we review some of the albums that we thought were amazing.
Yeah,
though.
we should. We
Yeah,
actually should.
We should just to see how they sound today.
No, fuck it. Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but we're
Yeah.
gonna review this in 5 years because I know what that means. But hey, man, let me not be that guy. I personally know what that means. Because if I genuinely think Twin Flame, I don't like, and Twin Flame is a good song.
And
It's
I also think like, and I'm not comparing it to Good Kid, Mad City, but it has that universal message
what-
that will always prevail.
That's
So it's
why-
got that on its side as well.
That's why I mentioned.
Yeah, so the
like,
content's timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned kind of Good Kid when you was talking about. I was like, it's his Good Kid. Not to that degree, but like as in your first album and you're just getting.
So that's
everything out there,
a
like,
good
where I'm
comparison.
from. But yeah, man, nah, he done it. He done
He
it.
done
man.
did it.
He done did it,
Well,
man.
salute to Avelino.
Yeah,
Salute
big
to
up.
V for
Big
giving
up.
us a great album. I'll be looking forward to see what happens next for you. And
Salute to Avelino. Salute to Tottenham. Salute to N17. Salute to Chick King. Salute to Farm. Salute to Ida.
Salute to Chick King.
Can you let me finish? Salute to Ida. Salute to Farm. Salute to Scotland Green. Salute to Tiverton. Salute to Tottenham High Road. Salute to Dixie.
Who are those people?
Those are areas in Tottenham.
this guy shouted out chicken shops, people, estates, areas.
We are the greatest. Shout out to MPK. I went to school there. We are the greatest. We are the greatest rappers that London has ever. You're lucky to have this area. You lot should thank your lucky stars Tottenham exists. Because if we didn't, what would the rap game be? Yuck. If we weren't here, what would the UK scene look like? We don't know if it will be here. Respectfully. What would the UK scene look like without Tottenham?
You do
Can we
realise
really talk about it?
you do realise that this thing started in South, right?
Cool. I don't mean nothing.
That means
Respectfully. Football started in England. Brazil took it to another level.
cool, say that, but it would still be there.
Did it start in England?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
And Brazil took it to another level. So you're right. You lot started to rap. We are just the Brazil of this shit.
In my head it was God save the streets. God save the streets.